A single mistake can change your whole life. Sometimes it brings shame. Sometimes it brings fear. But every once in a while, it opens the door to unexpected kindness that heals hearts no one knew were broken. If you've ever judged a moment before knowing the full story, this one will stay with you until the very end. Before we begin, if stories about compassion, hope, and second chances touch your heart, please subscribe to Spread Kindness, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us spread more inspiring stories that remind the world kindness still exists. Mark had been raising his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, alone for almost 4 years. Life wasn't easy. He worked long hours as a home repair technician, fixed broken sinks, squeaky doors, and cracked fences, then hurried home every evening to help Lily with homework, cook dinner, and read bedtime stories. Their small neighborhood was quiet. Everyone knew each other just enough to wave, but not enough to share their struggles. A few months earlier, a new neighbor had moved into the little blue house next door. Her name was Emma. She seemed friendly but private. She smiled politely whenever she watered her flowers or collected her mail, but she rarely spoke for long. One Saturday afternoon, Mark climbed a ladder to clean leaves from his garage roof after a heavy storm. As he reached the top, he accidentally glanced toward Emma's second-floor window. The curtains had been left open. Emma was changing clothes after returning from a morning run. The moment Mark realized what he had seen, he immediately looked away. "Oh no," he whispered to himself, climbing down the ladder as fast as he could. His face turned bright red. A few minutes later, there was a knock on his front door. His heart nearly stopped. Emma stood there. She wasn't angry. She wasn't shouting. Instead, she smiled with surprising calm. "So," she said gently, "you accidentally saw me changing." Mark looked at the ground. "I'm so sorry. It was completely accidental. I feel terrible." Emma studied his embarrassed face for a second before saying something that left him speechless. "Then take responsibility." His mind raced. What?" She laughed softly. "My kitchen ceiling is leaking." "You fix houses for a living, don't you?" Mark blinked. "That's what you meant?" "What else would I mean?" she replied with a playful smile. For the first time that day, both of them laughed. Later that afternoon, Mark walked into Emma's kitchen with his toolbox. The leak wasn't huge, but it had slowly damaged part of the ceiling. As he worked, Lily wandered over carrying a plate of homemade cookies. "My dad says cookies make every repair go faster," she announced proudly. Emma laughed. "I think your dad is very smart." From that afternoon on, something changed. Emma began waving more often. Sometimes she baked muffins for Lily. Sometimes Mark shoveled snow from Emma's driveway before work. Neither of them expected anything in return. Kindness simply became part of their routine. One evening, Lily noticed Emma sitting alone on her porch. "She looks sad," Lily whispered. Mark nodded. "Maybe she's just tired." But Lily had inherited her father's gentle heart. She walked over carrying a small drawing she had made. It showed 3 people standing under a rainbow. On the back she had written, "No one should feel lonely." Emma stared at the drawing. Tears filled her eyes. She hugged Lily tightly. That weekend, Emma finally shared her story. A year earlier, she had lost both her mother and her younger brother within months of each other. After that, she left her old city hoping a fresh start would help. Instead, she found herself surrounded by strangers. Every evening she returned to an empty house. She smiled during the day because it felt easier than explaining how lonely she really was. Mark listened quietly. "I know loneliness," he said. "When my wife passed away, people brought food for 2 weeks. Then everyone returned to their own lives." Emma looked at him. How did you survive? He smiled at Lily, who was drawing on the living room floor. One small act of kindness at a time. As autumn arrived, the neighborhood organized its annual community picnic. Usually Emma skipped neighborhood events. This time Lily insisted. You have to come, she said. We already told everyone you're bringing brownies. Emma laughed. I guess I don't have much choice. At the picnic, neighbors who had barely spoken for years shared stories, laughed together, and helped children play games. Mark watched Emma smiling more freely than ever before. She looked lighter. As though part of the weight she'd been carrying had finally disappeared. A few weeks later, another storm swept through town. Strong winds knocked a large tree onto Emma's front yard. Without being asked, neighbors showed up carrying chainsaws, rakes, gloves, and hot coffee. Mark led the cleanup. Within hours, the yard looked normal again. Emma stood quietly watching everyone work. I've never seen anything like this, she said. Mark smiled. You don't have to face everything alone anymore. That evening she baked enough apple pie for everyone who had helped. The children ran from house to house delivering slices. Laughter echoed through the street. The neighborhood no longer felt like a collection of strangers. It felt like family. Months passed. Emma became Lily's favorite person to visit after school. She helped with science projects, attended school concerts, and never missed Lily's birthday. Mark often caught himself smiling at how naturally kindness had woven their lives together. One afternoon, Lily asked a question neither adult expected. Dad? Yes? If you accidentally looked through that window again. Mark nearly dropped his coffee. Lily grinned. Would you still have fixed the ceiling? Everyone burst into laughter. Emma smiled warmly. I'm glad he did. So am I, Mark answered. Because fixing the ceiling wasn't really what needed repairing. Years later, Lily would remember that strange afternoon as the day everything changed. Not because of an embarrassing accident. But because two lonely neighbors chose understanding instead of anger. They chose generosity instead of judgment. They chose kindness instead of distance. Life is full of awkward moments, misunderstandings, and accidents we wish had never happened. But sometimes those very moments become the beginning of something beautiful when people respond with patience, forgiveness, and compassion. A simple apology, a helping hand, or an open heart can turn strangers into friends and neighbors into family. You never know how deeply someone is hurting behind a polite smile, or how one small act of kindness can restore hope they thought was gone. So the next time life gives you an unexpected moment, choose grace. Choose understanding. And above all, choose to spread kindness, because the smallest act of kindness may become the greatest turning point in someone's life.